Well, Amy did a great presentation on AI, and now I'm coming back and talking to you about old school. Because I've been doing ResearchBuzz for 21 years as of next month, and there are still strategies that I've been using almost from day one that still work great for me. And there's still some technologies from that far back, including a really ancient one I'm going to talk about at the end of the presentation, that are great. They do a terrific job for me in my daily work of finding things, finding updates, and transmitting them to you via ResearchBuzz. So I want to talk first about my strategies, my core strategies, and then some tools I use, and then a little odd stuff with bookmarklets and things like that. So first is my 4 principles for my starting strategy. When you take on the task of curating information and going and looking for things on a regular basis, you can do it one of 3 ways. The first way is that you can very clearly delineate what you're looking for and be super, super specific. And that works, but it brings you a very limited flow of information. You're going to miss a lot. The second thing you can do is say, well, let the chips fall where they may. I will put in every single search term I can think of, and you'll find a lot of stuff, but you'll also get blasted with information. And it might be too much for you to go through. But the third thing you can do is think of good middle-of-the-road search terms that are going to find you good material on a regular basis, and then filter those by narrowing down the data pools that you're searching, by using syntaxes and filters to get your information flow down to a reasonable, useful, manageable level. Manageable, manageable, manageable. My second principle is that I will miss some things, and I have to get over it. I will not find everything. And to tell you the truth, I'm not very good at this principle. I hate missing stuff. But you have to think about, are you going to put in X more effort just to get Y more information? Everybody has a limited amount of time. So I can't say I'm going to put in 10 more search terms, or I'm going to add another 100 RSS feeds. I have to know this is enough. I'm not going to get everything. I'm going to miss a few things. That's okay. It has to be okay. The balance between overlap and overload is real. If I find something in my RSS feeds and then later I find it in my email alerts, that's really good because that means I'm kind of covering everything I need to cover. But again, I don't want to duplicate all my searches and all my resources. I don't want to have everything I'm looking for in a Google alert also show up on an RSS feed or in a particular web page that I'm monitoring. Finally, I don't want to stay stuck in the same search terms for years and years and years or 21 years. I want to constantly be reviewing what I'm finding and pulling out new search terms if they seem relevant. So, for example, I've always searched for digital archive. That's always been very useful to me. But in the last 6 months, I found that digital collections, when libraries pull things out of their holdings and kind of make online exhibits, that's being called digital collections more now. And I'm finding that is also a good Google alert for me, though it does not find as much material, of course, as digital archive. Now here I've been talking about picking the best search terms for when you're trying to curate an information flow, but also important is excluding words. This has become especially true in the age of social media. Somebody does something on Twitter and there's 500,000 articles talking about somebody did something on Twitter. Or somebody does something in the real world and there are 5,000 articles talking about how Twitter's reacting to that thing. This is a lot of popular culture and celebrity stuff. It's not stuff I'm interested in for ResearchBuzz. So when I do searches now, I make sure to exclude certain words. I call these words barnacles. These are words that bring up search terms or search results that are of no interest to me, that I have to go through to surface what I really want to find and what's really useful to me. So here are a couple of screenshots. The first one is searching Google News for the word Instagram in the title and the phrase new Instagram in the body. And you'll see there's Kardashians in there and there's, real celebrity stars. I don't know these people, I really don't. But it's not useful to me. It's not useful to ResearchBuzz. There's not stuff here that I can do anything with. But in the second screenshot, I've excluded the words fashion, style, famous, celebrity, star, and I'm surfacing materials that are going to be good for me. I'm finding things about an Instagram account about New York culture. I'm finding things about a foreign minister in Iran who tried to resign via Instagram. It would have been much harder for me to surface that material without excluding those words. So while you're thinking about what's the best way to describe the material I want to find on a regular basis, also be thinking about what are the words and the concepts that I constantly get in my results that annoy the mess out of me and that I don't want to see. So be thinking about what you must have and be thinking about what would be good for you to exclude as you manage your information flow. Now, everybody's mentioned a lot of special syntax for Google. This is a very useful and easy way to narrow down the pool of what you're searching. If you limit your search to in title, you're searching only the title of a web page or a news story. It's a much smaller data pool than you would be searching otherwise. So you can get away sometimes with doing a search like Instagram. Not often, that's a still very general search term. But because your pool is much smaller, you can use more general search terms. In URL, if you do a search term and then use in URL library, you will find materials on library websites. That's a very quick and easy way, again, to narrow down your search to authoritative, useful websites. I do want to talk a little bit about the syntax for Google News, because I don't think we talk about that very much. There are two really cool syntax that I think you should know about. The first one is called location. Now, location is supposed to be for states and countries. And occasionally I found it works for cities, but not very often. It's a little wonky. I recommend that you test it. Here's an example. If I'm going to search for the terms cow, cows and fodder in Ghana, I get 5 different results from resources in Ghana. So this is good if I'm looking for, agriculture and that kind of thing. This is finding me materials I can look for. But you'll also notice that there are only 3 different resources on this page. There's only coming from 3 different news sources here. So I might want to do a search for source. I don't know of any news sources in Ghana. I'm not familiar with Ghana media. But I do know that if I use the source syntax with Google News, that I can search for partial titles. You don't have to search for New York Times. Or you don't have to search for Business Week. You can use single word searches and it will find the word in the title of the different resources available on Google News. So if I search for agriculture fodder and for source I used Africa, it will find news sources that include the word Africa. And you'll see on this screenshot that those are 5 separate sources. I've found more sources using an incomplete source search than I did when I used a location search. And not only that, I have discovered materials, it's a resource discovery. I've discovered news sources that I didn't know about. Pardon me. Special syntax is very well known with Google and Google News. You may not know as much about special syntax for Twitter. How many of y'all use Twitter? Good, it's not just me. Excellent. Okay. There are 3 very useful syntax for Twitter. The first one is called filter follows. And all this does is it limits your search to the people that you follow. And this is great because you've already used your intelligence and your skill to create a list of people that you find interesting and useful and that provide great resources. So this is kind of a double filter. You've got this great group of people assembled, you've got this great list, and now you're searching that list by keyword. You can also search by list. If you've aggregated a group of people that you really like, if you've got a bunch of art museums in a list or a bunch of economics experts or something like that, you can also monitor that by keyword, or you can monitor somebody else's list as well. There's a Twitter user called Libraries Val, and she's got some great Twitter lists. And thanks to her hard work, I can monitor them for resources. And the third one is called Min Faves. And this is just limiting your search results to those items that have a certain number of favorites, or a certain number of people that have liked them. This helps you avoid spam, just random things coming from accounts that have only 2 or 3 followers. It kind of keeps you to the more popular middle-of-the-road stuff. For more esoteric searches, maybe you don't want to use that. But if you want to use a general search on Twitter like archive or database, and Twitter's really tough to search because the character counts are so small, you're not sure what words people are going to use. This is a really good way to get away with using really general search terms and not getting overwhelmed with results. For example, I've searched for the term database, people I follow that have been favorited at least 3 times. I got 3 results. From a really general keyword like database, I was able to use those filters to get it down to 3 results. And I can manage that. But if I just tried to do a search of database for all of Twitter, no way. I'd have to give up. Now, you've gone on Twitter, you've made some really good searches, you've used your filters, you have a manageable information flow coming. To keep monitoring it over time, you can turn those searches into an RSS feed with a tool called twitrss.me. This is a free tool. You may be aware that Twitter has been having some API issues, so this tool does occasionally break down a little bit, but they also offer the source code on GitHub if you want to run your own instance on your own server. But all you have to do here is enter in your search. That's at the bottom of the screen here. And it will generate an RSS feed for you to put in an RSS feed reader. Or if you're interested in following just a particular person, you can put that up at the top. Just enter their username and they'll generate an RSS feed for you. And for the last tool I want to tell you about, it's called Bookmarklets. How many of you have heard of Bookmarklets? Good. They're almost 20 years old, so I feel very Neolithic coming up here and telling you about Bookmarklets. What they are, if you don't know, is they're bookmarks with a little bit of JavaScript in them that kind of extends their ability a little bit. Mostly it allows you to put in fields of information instead of just clicking on a static bookmark. I've used them a couple of different ways. My friend John emailed me and told me that he likes to run a Google search, but every time he runs it, he has to exclude a couple of sites from his search, or those sites overwhelm his results. One way to handle that would be to run the search and then bookmark it, and then go back to that bookmark and change the search every time you want to do it. But with a bookmarklet, you can just put that on your bookmarks bar, click it, it will prompt you for your search, and give you the search results with those sites excluded. Much easier to use and really handy. Another way I've used it is when I'm looking at Twitter. As you know, people are getting kicked off Twitter and suspended from Twitter all the time. So you'll be on Twitter and you'll see so-and-so got suspended. Well, you don't know who so-and-so is, and you don't know anything about their tweets. So I've created 2 bookmarklets. One of them, if you click on it, it will take you to a cached Google page of their Twitter account. And you can see what they were all about. If you want to go back deeper, though, I have another bookmarklet. You click it, you put in the Twitter user's name, and it takes you to their Wayback Machine page on the Internet Archive. So you can see all the tweets they might have deleted, or what their last tweet was, or actually even how far back they were a member of Twitter and what they were tweeting before. I tried this with Arby's, and I ended up finding the original Arby's account owner in 2010 and what they were posting about, and then watched it evolve into the corporate Twitter account that it is today. This is an old technology, but it's so useful for finding deleted materials, deleted accounts, things you aren't familiar with one click, digging back into resources like the Wayback Machine. Does anybody have any questions? It is a field of silence. All right. Well, I'm at ResearchBuzz.com. You can reach me at ResearchBuzz@gmail.com if you have any questions. And if you want to learn about some of the tools I've talked about, including walkthroughs of Bookmarklets and how to use those Twitter filters, you can get everything at researchbuzz.me/tag/featured. Everything on the site is Creative Commons, no commercial attribution. So if you're a nonprofit, you want to print out an article and hand it out to your team, go for it. I'm here to help. Thanks very much.